I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses. I hope you don't hear this background noise because the music drives me bananas. So I got a question. I've dealt with this question before, which is how to get around an attorney who is not letting you assign a contract or not letting you make a contract assignable. So obviously, I don't know what the situation. It's a very vague question. If it's your attorney that's not letting you assign a contract, you definitely fire him and never use that attorney again. But I'm assuming it's a seller's attorney that's causing you the problem. So it depends on the situation. Now, if it's a situation where you're planning to close on the contract, then should be no problem. You could just get around it. But I'm assuming that you want to assign a contract because you want to wholesale the contract. So there are a few ways to get around it. Most attorneys that don't want you to sign a contract are just, should I say, people with less experience who haven't really dealt with assignable contracts. And what they are trying to do is just prevent their client, the seller, from having a problem. So one of the things you can offer is to have the contract assignable to an entity that you control. Or you can even, what I do very often is I'll go to the New York State website, I'll check the address. So if I'm assigning 123 Main Street, I'll check the address 123 Main Street LLC, and I'll tell the seller, well, I want to close in my LLC's name or in an entity specifically created for it, which is 123 Main Street LLC. Then I will, in essence, try to find a buyer for it who understands the concept of buying the interest in an LLC instead of assigning the contract to them. So it's a simpler way of doing it. Now, it does prevent less experienced buyers or less experienced buyer's attorneys. So you might have trouble from the seller's attorney side and from the buyer's attorney side. But the truth is that most experienced buyers, and if you have a good deal, you will find a buyer who will understand the concept of buying the interest in an LLC. So instead of assigning the contract, you're going to create a contract to buy the interest in the LLC, and that is a way that the seller cannot prevent, right? Even if the contract is not assignable, but it is a contract that's in contract to sell a property to 123 Main Street LLC. If you sell the interest at the LLC at the closing, you're in effect assigning the contract. I've done this many times, and it is a good tool to use. But in general, you need to really, what you should do is your attorney, because very often a seller's attorney won't talk to you as a buyer, your attorney should call the seller's attorney and say, when he says he doesn't want to make it assignable, what are your concerns, right? I just had a situation where the sales attorney was like, how do I know the buyer's going to close? It's really a stupid way of thinking, because if my contract's assignable and I assign it to an entity that won't close, it falls on me. It's pretty much simple. It's never been an issue, but legally I don't see the problem with it at all. So you have to find out what their concerns are. Usually that's their concerns. Their concern is, well, how do I know the entity or person you assign it to is going to close? I know you, I like you, but I don't like the new person. It's really stupid thinking. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's scarcity minded stupid thing. And I understand you can say, well, he's trying to look out for his client, but it never happens. If the assignee can't close, it falls on you, obviously. So because they're taking your place, but if they can't perform, then you have to perform as the original buyer. So that's usually their concern. Sometimes there are other concerns, but you should get to the bottom of their concerns. And we can just put some language in the contract that if the assignee can't perform, then original buyer has to perform. I mean, that's the easy way to do it. But sometimes it doesn't work for them. They don't want to do it. They may have had a bad experience where they had somebody assign a contract and then the new person screwed their client. So that could be possible. But what I would recommend is to get it done. I would say get it done in a specific LLC, specific purpose LLC, and get that just sell the interest in that LLC to the new buyer. Now sometimes the buyer's attorney can have trouble in this scenario. So what happens if the buyer said, well, what do you mean? How do I know your LLC doesn't have any litigation against it? Which is also a stupid answer. And the answer is, I just created the LLC a week ago. The name of the LLC is this address. There's not going to be anything going on here, right? So that's the kind of way to get around any possible questions from the buyer. But I would say experienced buyers and experienced buyers' attorneys will never have a problem with buying the interest in an LLC. In New York, it happens all the time. I've done it dozens of times. There's nothing illegal about it, and there's no problem. And and there's no problem with it. So I would say that that is the way to get around an LLC. Now I've made the mistake, and the reason why I started this with do you want to close on it is because I've lost deals because I insisted on making them assignable on situations where I wanted to close, and I just wanted the option to assign it, and I lost deals, and that was my stupidity. I remember it very well. Right? The guy used a terrible attorney. I think he got somebody online for like a few $100s. The attorney was a moron, right? Some guy probably straight out of law school was thinking of all the millions of possibilities that'll never happen, and I lost the deal to another guy, happens to be a friend of mine who I know, for the same price, just because I insisted on making it assignable when I wanted to close on it. So that was my stupidity. So make sure if you're going to get into it, if you or your attorney is going to get into it with the seller's attorney on making things assignable or on creating an LLC to close in it, that you want to do that, right? If you don't want to do it, then don't waste your time. Don't lose a deal over it. But I would say the very easiest way to get around it is to say, you know what, let's just make this contract, right? So Mr. John Doe seller is selling me 123 Main Street to either my underlying LLC, which is a Real Property Buyers LLC, or 123 Main Street LLC. Right? But make sure that LLC is available. Right? And if not, 123 Main is available. 123 Main ST is available. So just make sure it's an LLC that you think is available, and that you check on the state website if it's available, and then say, I'm just going to close it in there. And you don't have to create that LLC right away. Don't worry, no one else is going to take it. And then you can create the LLC right before you want to assign the contract and or sell the interest in the LLC. So that is the easiest way to get around it. I have unfortunately lost many deals by not handling it the right way. There are a lot of easy ways to get around it, and I think that you should never ever lose a deal over assignability. Never fight over it. Just 99.9% of the sellers will not have a problem with you closing in an LLC that you control, or an LLC that you create specifically for the purpose of buying the property. So that's the way around it. I wish I would have known this a long time ago. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com or learntoflipandwholesale.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please hit the thumbs up. The likes really help my algorithm. A lot more people will see my videos, so thank you very, very much for watching. And I post 5 times a week. I rarely know what the hell to talk about. Your questions give me topics to discuss. So please keep the comments coming. You don't have to ask a question about the video you're watching. It could be about anything. And if it's a simple answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something that I've covered recently, I'll send you a link to a video, or sometimes multiple videos on it. If it's something that I have never covered or that I haven't covered in a long time, I'll do a brand new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching.